Morning, friends. How's it going? Today we're going to read chapters 6 and 7 in The Littles and the Trash Tinies. Now, if you remember from last time, they'd made it to the dump. And they just entered a pipe, and we're going to see what happens. Same stuff, guys. We're talking about characters, main idea, and setting. Okay? Stay together, yelled Mr. Little. He and his children were sliding down a pipe into the middle of the junk pile. Mr. Little tried to grab Tom and Lucy, but he couldn't. They were sliding away from him. At last, one by one, they shot out from the end of the pipe. The three of them piled up in a heap. "Where are we?" asked Mr. Little. He stood up and looked around. "We're under the junk," Tom said. "Then this must be Trash City," said Mr. Little. "There goes Mus," yelled Lucy. She ran after the mouse. Mr. Little and Tom caught up with Lucy. She was standing near a tiny girl as tall as she was. The girl was petting Mus. She wore a dress that was spotted with colorful patches. "I saw you with Mus," she said. "What have you done with old Major Nick?" In a few moments, more tiny people appeared. They came from behind soup cans, milk bottles, broken barrels, and other kinds of trash. Their clothing was worn and patched too. A man with a bushy red beard and a black patch over his eye stepped forward. "Who are you?" he called. "I'm William T. Little," said Mr. Little, "and these are my children, Tom and Lucy." The man with the eye patch turned to a tall, long-faced man. "Did he say Little?" And here's a picture of them meeting the other tiny people. And if you were to say where setting is, where do you think it would be? You could tell your mom or dad or someone at home, or you could draw it. Okay. The tall man nodded. "Yep." Mr. Little smiled. He held out his arms and crossed them. He was following Uncle Nick's instructions. "We're relatives of Nick Little," he said. Then, "Major Nicholas Q. Little, retired of the Mouse Force Brigade, here in Trash City." "Your relatives is Major Nick?" the man with the eye patch said. "He's our uncle," said Lucy proudly. The man broke into a big smile. He walked toward the Littles with his arms crossed and held out. "I'm Itzy Clutter," he said. "I'm the mayor of this here town. Welcome to Trash City." So, they're standing with their arms folded. That's must be what they're doing with their culture and the tiny people. Mr. Little and Mayor Clutter greeted each other. They did it in the manner of the people of Trash City. They crossed their arms and shook both hands at the same time. Mr. Little explained why he and his children had come to Trash City. He told how they had found their way by following Mus. He said that Uncle Nick wanted very much to see some of his friends for Christmas. Mayor Clutter and the Trash Tinies were happy to do anything for Major Nick Little. The old soldier was well liked by the people of the strange city under the trash. "You'll want to start back as soon as you can," said the mayor. "I'll take you to Major Nick's friends. I'm sure they'll be pleased to go with you." Mr. Little told Mayor Clutter how they traveled to the town dump. "The garbage truck goes back to the Biggs house the day after tomorrow," he said, "and because of the snowstorm, we have no other way to get back there. I'm afraid we'll have to spend a few days with you." "Wonderful," Mayor Clutter said. "You're welcome to stay in my orange crate." "Orange crate?" said Tom. "That's right, Tom," said Mayor Clutter. "Here in the town dump, we make our homes out of the trash and broken furniture." "Golly," said Lucy, "that sounds like fun." They started out for Mayor Clutter's home. On the way, he pointed out where other Trash Tinies lived. The Ash family lived in a barrel. The Orts lived under a table in a chest full of drawers. The Rummagers lived in a steamer trunk. The Rummagers are very large. They're a very large family, Mayor Clutter explained. "This is why they have one of the bigger homes. They passed a bathtub. This is our community youth center," said the mayor. "The children swim in the tub when the weather is warm. Right now, they are ice skating on the ice." Lucy pointed to a broken bicycle. "Look, Tom," she yelled. "The kids have a Ferris wheel." Tom saw a group of tiny children. They were swinging up and around on a spinning bicycle. So I'll show you. That's where they live. There's the bicycle over there. And there's some of the homes that just look. They made their own things from the dump. "I see that the houses have electric lights," said Mr. Little. "How do you manage that?" "We use strings of old Christmas tree lights," said Mayor Clutter. "The electric power comes from used automobile batteries. You would be amazed at how many useful things big people throw away. They are very, very wasteful." "Lucky for tiny people," said Mr. Little. We live very comfortably, Mayor Clutter added. I'm surprised, I must say, said Mr. Little. I thought since you lived in the town dump, you must be quite poor, said the mayor. Mayor Clutter laughed. You'll see that we have everything we need and more. Tom spoke. But the patches on your clothes. Mayor Clutter laughed again. That's the style, Tom, he said. Trash townies love the patched look. They came to a 5-drawer metal filing cabinet. This is an apartment house, said Mayor Clutter. The Scrap family, the wastes and the dregs and the rags live here. Mr. Little looked over his head. I don't understand, he said. Why doesn't all this overhead junk just fall down on you? The mayor smiled. It's quite an engineering job, I can tell you, he said. It does look like a pile of junk. After all, we don't want big people to think that there are actually tiny people living here. Actually, the roof of Trash City is very well supported. There are large metal braces, pipes, and storage tanks, and they're all locked together in such a way to be terrifically strong. What happens when it rains? Asked Mr. Little. Doesn't the water seep down and give you problems? The water is handled by a system of pipes, old gutters, and tubs, Mayor Clutter replied. We keep what water we need, and the rest is drained off into the ground. This is remarkable, Mr. Little said. I had no idea that you had solved all these problems. I'm very impressed. They came at last to Mayor Clutter's home in the Orange Crate. Okay, that was chapter 6, and they explored Trash City, and it sounds like they're moving into the Mayor's Crate. That could also be a different setting. Mayor Clutter introduced the Littles to his family. First, there was Mrs. Clutter, whom he called Mrs. C. Next, there were 2 boys. Jum was Tom's age, and Spunk a year older. A girl, Cubby, who was 15, was on an errand. The Clutters were told the news about Major Nick. I'm sorry to hear the old Major's laid up and feeling poorly, said Mrs. Clutter. We're hoping he'd spend Christmas with us. What's for breakfast, Mrs. C? Asked Mayor Clutter. Our friends are hungry after a long trip. It's not here yet, dear, said Mrs. Clutter. Cubby went to fetch it just before you got home. Then you don't cook? Asked Mr. Little. Oh, my dear, no, said Mrs. Clutter. We just send one of the young'uns over to the community kitchen for the food. Here she comes now, said Mayor Clutter. 15-year-old Cubby Clutter came into the Orange Crate. She was carrying a bowl of steaming food. What do we get this time, Cubby dear? Asked Mrs. Clutter. Cubby made a face. It's chicken noodle soup, she said. We never get what I want. Do you like chicken noodle soup, Mr. Little? Asked Mayor Clutter. For breakfast, said Tom. Tom, said Mr. Little. He looked sternly at the boy. He turned to Mayor Clutter. Some piping hot chicken noodle soup would hit the spot right now, he said. We'll eat whatever you have and enjoy it, right, Tom? Well, that's more than I can say about the Clutters, said the mayor. We eat what they give us, but we don't always like it. But it's the system, so we try not to complain. The system, said Mr. Little. Major Nick didn't tell you about the system? Major Nick, it seems, has told us not too much about Trash City, said Mr. Little. Most of his stories had to do with fighting mice. Well now, where do you think we get our food, Mr. Little? Asked Mayor Clutter. Come to think of it, I don't know, Mr. Little said. You don't have some amazing way of farming down here, do you? Mayor Clutter shook his head. And there aren't any big people to get leftovers from, Lucy said. And no woods or fields where wild food grows, Tom said. Lucy made a face. You don't, she said quietly, you don't eat garbage, roared Mayor Clutter. He laughed until tears came to his eyes. Oh, Lucy, no. My goodness, what an idea. Lucy blushed. Well, I thought it is the town dump. Lucy, said Mr. Little. He shook his finger at Lucy. No, Lucy, Mayor Clutter went on. The garbage is thrown away in another part of the dump. It's burned every day. He raised his eyebrows and wrinkled his nose. Sometimes, when the wind is blowing the wrong way, we get all kinds of smelly pollution. But this time, everyone was eating the hot soup. Tom stopped eating. Then where do you get the food, Mayor Clutter? The mayor smiled. You can go on eating, Tom. The food is perfectly safe. It's canned food. It comes from a nearby supermarket. Do you take it from the store? Asked Lucy. No, they throw it away, said Mayor Clutter. A certain number of cans in the store lose their paper labels for one reason or another. The store people forget what it is in the cans, and they can't sell them, so they throw them in the garbage. And you eat them, added Tom. That's right, said Mayor Clutter. We don't know what is in the cans either, so we open them up one by one. Whatever we find, we eat. That's why sometimes we have food for breakfast that would be better for lunch. And we may get something for dinner that would be better for breakfast. And everybody in Trash City will be eating chicken noodle soup for breakfast today, said said Mr. Little. That's right, said the mayor. It's good food, Mrs. Clutter said. Once we got 3 cans of peas in a row, said Spunk, the youngest Clutter. Yuck, said his brother. Double yuck, said Cubby. Everybody laughed. So, the end of the chapter, the setting would be, yes, the mayor's house. And there weren't any big problems in this chapter. I think we're learning more, and we're going to see what happens tomorrow. Okay, guys, talk to you soon. Bye.